RLCS is back. This weekend will host the first North American main event of the season, featuring the 16 teams that successfully battled their way through the double bracket open qualifier. Sit back and relax as I power rank these 16 teams from the new faces to the favorites. I hope you enjoy. At number 16, I have Young Whippersnappers. This is a completely rookie squad consisting of Panda, Realize, and Skippy. Now, I don't want to underestimate this team too much, as they did have a fantastic run through the lower bracket, including their final match where they managed to beat Omelette and qualify for this main event, so they definitely have proven they have what it takes to beat teams that are on paper better than them. That said, every team surrounding them is on paper better, and they're going to have to step up a lot if they want to succeed in this Swiss bracket. I think if they do succeed, look to Skippy. He's 16 and I think has the most potential of these three to really turn some heads, and we'll have to see how they do in this main event. At 15, I have Plot Twist, a team consisting of two rookies, Sosa and Expert, joined by rookie Kofer. Now, I do think this team has the pieces to potentially see some success, but I think in the open qualifier they showed their hand a bit. They had a great run and they certainly were one of the best teams deserving to be here, but when they ran into a real challenge, Gen.G, they got folded. They lost in a sweep. So I'm not quite sure how they'll do in this event. If they do pop off, I'm kind of looking to the rookie Kofer. I think he could be the guy that really separates this roster, and when you pair him with this veteran presence of Sosa and Expert, maybe that's the recipe for success. 14, I have the Snowmen. This is a completely rookie squad consisting of Scribbles, Reveal, and Frosty. This squad has a ton of potential for the future, like I could see this team succeeding down the road, but right now I don't think they'll do very well. It's three rookies, and although they have, like I said, a lot of hype, a lot of potential, especially Scribbles, I don't think they'll be able to put it together this first time around. We saw in the open qualifier they lost in a sweep in the upper bracket to Spacestation, and although they did recover in the lower bracket and make it here, I don't think they're going to be able to take down any of these top teams, and I don't think they'll make it out of Swiss. That said, one player of note besides Scribbles, who has a lot of hype, is Frosty. He might have a chip on his shoulder if they run into Gen.G, as he was on that squad for just a few weeks before the season began, and they kicked him. So he got signed by the org, was on the team, and then got kicked before the season even began. So I think that's a bit of a mini rivalry of sorts. We'll have to see how Frosty and the Snowmen fare. At 13, I have Pirates on a Boat. This squad consists of a rookie 5-up joined by veterans Andy and Eris. I think this squad has a lot of potential like some of the others I mentioned before, and I think 5-up of all the rookies I've mentioned so far has looked the best in the open qualifier and off-season tournaments. That said, especially when you put him with an experienced player like Andy that's been to a LAN, I think they could go, potentially make a deep run. I think their biggest problem is how stacked North America is. There's a lot of experience around them, and I think they're going to have to step up and outperform expectations if they're going to make it out of Swiss. That said, if they do, I think, again, look to 5-up. I think he's got to be that guy. He's got to be the high-flying, aerobatic, mechanical genius if this squad wants any chance at making it out of Swiss, and we'll have to see how they do this regional. At number 12, I have Deleted XD. This team consists of three veterans, Adam, Knight, and Oath. I see a lot of potential in this squad. I think of all the teams up to now, they have the most potential to make it out of Swiss. Like, I truly think, despite rating them this low, that they have a decent chance to make it to the top 8. But it's going to take beating one of the teams around them. That's been one of their biggest struggles, is beating the best teams. Beating one of those top 8 teams is going to require beating a top 8 team. And if Deleted XD can put it together, I think you got to look at Oath. I think he's been that guy to really get the clutch goals, have the ice in those big moments, and if he can step up as well as his teammates, maybe, just maybe, they take down one of the giants and take their place at the top 8. At number 11, I have the Muffin Men, a squad consisting of two world champions, Squishy and Gimmick, joined by the veteran Aqua. Now, I had a lot of reservations about this squad because I still think Squishy is good and could compete at the top level in NA, but I think he didn't quite get a top tier team this time around. I think despite everything that happened to Gen.G last season, this is a bit of a downgrade. Gimmick's great, but I think he's a lower ceiling than a lot of the players around him now these days, and Aqua is just way too inconsistent despite how long now he's been in the RLCS. So I don't see this squad doing too great. Now, they certainly will be in the running to make it out of Swiss. I just think that they're going to crumble right at that last step. Make it, to the last round, or the last couple rounds at least, and then bomb out when they face a team at or above their level. But I'd love to be proven wrong, and frankly, I think if they do succeed, it's going to be on the back of Squishy. He's got to rejuvenate, revitalize, and become the man again for the Muffin Men. At number 10, I have NRG, a squad consisting of world champion Gen.G, joined by veterans Mist and Toasty. Now, I'm probably going to catch even more flack for this ranking, as NRG did make it through the upper bracket in the open qualifier. They didn't lose, and they even beat Plot Twist, one of the teams that is here in the main event, but I just had some reservations. I think they didn't play a lot of top talent besides Plot Twist, who I didn't rate too highly in these power rankings, and I think they're going to have a lot to prove in the Swiss, as they didn't play much in the offseason with Toasty. They played most of the offseason with Frosty, so this particular squad of 3 hasn't shown a lot in the offseason because they haven't had the potential to. So we'll have to see how they do. My main reservation from this squad comes with Mist. I do think this team can succeed, but Mist just has to put in more hours. He doesn't need to be putting in crazy amounts of time. He doesn't need to be the most in the game, but I think when FaZe Clan struggled last year, it was in large part because of Mist and his low hours at times. So we'll see how NRG does. Maybe being with a leader like Gen.G will be what Mist needs. Toasty as well. I think it is a solid squad on the whole, and I think they certainly are going to be in the mix to make it out of Swiss. My reservation is I don't think they get any higher than top 8, but I love to be proven wrong. Let's see how NRG does. At number 9, I have Luminosity Gaming, a roster consisting of veterans Magic Bear, Reddles, and Cheese. Now, this pains me to put them this low, as I do consider myself a Luminosity fan, but the squad has a lot to prove, a lot of weight on their shoulders. They did make it through the upper bracket, but they just barely beat an Omelet squad that ultimately didn't even make the main event. So we'll have to see how they fare against other top teams, and although I think they certainly have the potential to make top 8 or even further, I think it's going to be a struggle to reach that potential. They're going to have to beat these teams around them and prove why they deserve to be higher ranked. If they do well, you gotta look to Cheese. I think he has the highest potential of these 3 at this time, and I think if he pops off, his teammates will feed on that energy and pop off right around him. So we'll have to see how Luminosity do in this main event. At number 8, I have Shopify Rebellion. This is a squad consisting of the veterans Parth and Two Piece, joined by world champion Justin. And I do think the squad has a ton of potential. I think you're taking a already solid duo, Parth and Two Piece, and giving them an upgrade in Justin. And I think that they theoretically could make the major if things go their way. It's going to be a tough battle. A lot of teams around them trying to make those spots. But if they can put it all together, they maybe could make it to those top 4 spots, but it's going to be a rough battle because some of these teams above them are just as talented. So I think you got to look to Justin kind of revitalizing. I think on NRG, all 3 of the players, they were all great individually, but things just slowly started to wear down, not work quite right. And Justin needs to reinvent himself. We need to see peak form Justin again if Shopify Rebellion wants to succeed, because Parth and Two Piece are great, fantastic players, but I really think they need that elevating factor that'll make things easier for them. I mean, if people need to shut down Justin, that gives Two Piece and Parth the space they need to make their own plays. So we'll have to see how Shopify Rebellion do. Like I said, I do think they have a high peak, and I do think they will make it through Swiss, but like I said, it's a close one, and they easily could miss it if they're not careful. At number 7, I have OG, a squad consisting of 3 veterans, Nolly, JNaps, and Cobb. Among them, 2 major champions. Now, this is a squad that I think a lot of people underestimated coming out of the offseason, but then, to be fair, they did struggle in the open qualifier. They dropped a series to TSM, a team I haven't mentioned yet, and then ultimately did make it through that lower bracket, but they struggled in their lower bracket match, going to 5 against a leftovers team that isn't really that notable. Now, although despite the struggles, I do think this team has all the pieces to succeed, and I do think they'll be able to make it to the playoffs, but there's so many teams around them, all of them fighting to make the major, that I think it's going to be a tough road if they want to be one of those teams attending the LANs. If they do end up attending the LANs, I want to look to Nolly. I think of the 3, he's had some of the highest highs, especially recently, made the fall major last season, and I think he needs to return to form and really be the gel for his 2 teammates to fully shine themselves. And if he can do that, if this team can work a system that works for the 3 of them and isn't so chaotic like the open qualifier, I think they have all the pieces to make it far in this event. At number 6, I have TSM, a squad consisting of 2 veterans, Creams and Hockey, joined by the rookie, Wavy. And this is by far the highest ranked squad that is relatively unknown, at least to the casual viewer, but there's a reason for that. They've been dominating some of the off-season tournaments, and then in this open bracket qualifier, they made it through the upper bracket by beating OG, taking them down in a fantastic series that really shows what this squad has, and I think what they can do to other top teams around them. Now, I do think it's going to be a battle to make it to the major, and I don't quite have them winning it, but at least for this first event anyway, but I do think they have potential to make some top 4s or even better in the future, and I expect to see them in most, if not all, playoffs, that is top 8s. We'll have to see how they do. If they do well, 100%, you can put a pin on it, look to Wavy. I think he is this up-and-coming player that has so much potential, and I think when TSM is clicking, when they're all working together and rotating well, it all revolves around Wavy and what he brings to their offense. I think he has that X factor that's going to elevate TSM to, if they did make a major, to that stage. At number 5, I have M80, a squad consisting of 2 veterans, AJ and Jorias, joined by rookie Nas. This is a fascinating squad because it consists of 2 Europeans that have moved over to North America. Jorias, a longtime RLCS vet, is moving over, as well as Nas, an unproven rookie. And I think there's a lot of potential when you pair them up with AJ, a proven North American player that's been to top 4 at World Championships before. So all in all, they definitely have the pieces to make some deep runs and potentially make majors, but they have some stiff competition, and we'll have to see how they do. In the open qualifier, they did take down Rebellion in a game 5 in the upper bracket, so they've proven they can beat these teams around them, but they're going to have to do more than that. They're going to have to be consistent if they want to make majors, and that is what I'm not quite sure about yet. We'll have to see especially how Nas fares. I think he's the question mark of the squad, and if he really shows up and proves that he's one of, if not the best rookie in the region, that'll be what carries M80 to a major spot or beyond. At number 4, I have Spacestation Gaming, a squad consisting of 3 veterans, LJ, Hoxer, and Chicago. Now, I think this is a bit of a downgrade. They removed Arsenal from the roster, picked up Chicago, but I still respect this squad a lot from their run at the World Championship last season, and I still respect LJ in particular. I think he is one of the best players in North America, top 5 hands down, and I think he's going to carry Space Station far this season. Now, whether they make a major spot is still up in the air. I have them here in the top 4, and I do think they'll be making some top 4s throughout the season, but there's so much competition around this level of North America that there's certainly no guarantee they do make the major. That said, again, look to LJ. I think he's going to carry them to success, and I think we're going to need to see a little bit of a revitalize from Chicago. I think he had some weaker moments last season on G2, and I think he needs to really step it up and play up to the level of his teammates, crazy as that may sound, if Space Station wants to succeed this season. At number 3, I have Dignitas. This is a squad consisting of 3 veterans, Evo, Arsenal, and Gyro. Now, this was a bit of a surprise for me when I was assembling my list, but I think how well Dignitas did in the off-season events and in the open qualifier for that matter kind of changed my mind on them. Originally, I didn't think I'd put them so high. You look at players like Gyro, Evo, and you don't think a top squad, but when you put them together with Arsenal, they have just been gelling. I think this is when Gyro returns to his top spot in the region for the first time since his Rogue days, and Evo is looking better than ever. If he can keep it up, if Arsenal can pull them together, and if Gyro can be as consistent as always, I think they very well may be making a major, or multiple, and the World Championship for that matter this season. We'll have to see how they do though, because nothing is a given in this region. It is a tough competition to make the top 4 spots, and they're going to have to be consistent about it if they want to be seeing the lands. At number 2, I have G2 Stride, a squad consisting of 3 veterans, Atomic, Daniel, and Beast Mode. Now, I think this team has so much potential, but a lot of it's on paper. In the offseason, they were a bit, up and down. They did great in the Auction Holiday Invitational, although they did lose to Oxygen, a European team, but then in the draw number 9, they lost to Luminosity. Then they've had a great open qualifier bracket to get here, beating Pirates on a boat. So I do think they'll be consistent against lower level teams. I do think they're going to be making top 8s nearly, if not every time, but even though I have them at 2, and I think they certainly have the potential to be top 2 in NA, to make the major, they really need to get their consistency down. Now, that's not a problem at all for Atomic, but his 2 teammates, Beast Mode and Daniel, they did not have a consistent split last season on version 1, nor the splits before that, but especially that spring split was very up and down, and they really need to get that under control if they want to be a top dog in NA. That said, again, they have the talent in spades. Atomic, one of the most consistent best players in the region, and he has an absolute peak. I haven't even gotten to Daniel and Beast Mode. Those two, it's like the same story, minus a little bit of the consistency part, but still, Daniel, when he is on, he is on. And I think of the 3, Beast Mode has the highest ceiling of them all. So, you know, you put that all together, and when they're gelling, they will be on fire. I'm a bit concerned for the days where they aren't gelling. That said, so far those days seem few and far between, but if G2 wants to be top 2, they need to make it stay that way. At number 1, I have Gen.G Mobile 1 Racing. Now, this squad, consisting of the 3 veterans, apparently Jack, Chronic, and First Killer, is by far the best on paper, and I think it'll translate the best in practice as well. These are 3 champions. Apparently Jack and Chronic, major champions. First Killer, he'll get there, but together I think they can really have a lot of success. You're pairing a completely competent, solid core, and apparently Jack and Chronic, with a killer, literally, in First Killer. I think he is probably the highest skill ceiling talent of anybody in North America. And although he can have consistency issues from time to time, he was the most consistent on FaZe. And I think you put him with Jack and Chronic, and that's just, you know, it's basically like using a cheat code. I think these 3, as long as they can, you know, gel, get a rotation working, they will be the best team in North America. I honestly think there's quite a gap. I think of all the teams in North America, they have the best chance at the majors. So talking to majors, this is the only team I feel confident will be at every major, will be at the World Championship. And I also think they're the only team in NA that has that potential, at least right away in the first major, to win it. I think Europe has some stiff competition. MENA, same story, honestly. So it's going to be tough if you want to be in that conversation to win a major, but I think Gen.G has that, and I think because of that, they have this region locked down. Now, they're not going to win every regional. They may not win this one, but I do think they're going to be the most consistent, and I would be absolutely shocked if they didn't make, at minimum, top 4. Am I crazy for underrating X Team or for giving Y Team too much credit? Let me know in the comments. The best part about this time in the season is how fluid the rankings can be, especially as we get more matches between the best of the best, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Tune in to twitch.tv/Rocket League this weekend to see it all go down and find out who will be the first regional champion of the season for NA. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe to the channel to see all my power rankings and predictions as the season goes on. You don't want to miss it. See you guys next time.